Over the last at least 10 years, the Humane Society of Missouri Animal Cruelty Task Force investigators became very aware that dogfighting was basically thriving in Missouri. Because dogfighting is such a secretive underground criminal activity, it is extremely hard to infiltrate these groups and gather the first-hand evidence needed to bring them to justice.
When this case came around, we had set in our minds that we were going to make the biggest impact that we possibly could in order to stop this from happening nationwide.
There were 22 sites visited in the span of a single 24-hour period, with the rescue teams working with law enforcement to literally break these animals free from their chains and bring them to safety. At the time our rescuers went in to gather the animals, they find animals with horrific wounds. And these are not animals who are laying in a nice, clean place where they're getting expert veterinary care. These were animals who were thrown back in the woods on a 30-pound log chain with a 4-inch wide collar around their neck, which may actually be lacerated and infected. We saw animals with wounds literally down to the bone and cartilage. In addition to the horrific wounds, they find animals with layers of scars on their body and sometimes fresh bleeding open wounds on top of scars, indicating that these animals had been in multiple fights over a prolonged period of time.
Top lips are gone. Yeah. Female. They just tapered it.
Under her neck, is that an open wound?
Yes.
Right ear missing?
Nope.
They found animals with missing limbs, missing eyes, missing ears, all evidently wounds in the fighting ring. Dogs are literally tortured every day in order to force them to fight for their lives simply for the entertainment and greed of their owners. And it happens over and over and over. And if the animal survives, they're going to have a very short lifespan because they're going to be faced with all the horrific wounds and infections. And if they prove themselves worthy, maybe their owners will keep them around even if they're injured beyond the point of fighting in the future. Then they will be used for breeding purposes.
These are some of the most prominent bloodlines you'll ever find in the dog fighting world. The way we've figured it so far, we've got about 6 or 7 of those of the top of the line bloodlines out of circulation now. We've taken their stud dogs, we've taken all their breeding females. They will no longer be able to breed this bloodline to promote dog fighting and more dogs to do it.
Because of the secret nature of the investigation, we could not openly secure a warehouse to hold fighting dogs, and we had the daunting task of creating a shelter for at least 250 fighting pit bulls. Ultimately, we know the raid brought in 407 of those dogs, and we literally just had to do everything on the fly.
When I walked into this facility for the first time, I was amazed at basically that you can take a warehouse and how we had set it up to accommodate animals, and the amount of animals that were here was just amazing.
We have literally stretched our staff and our volunteers and animal welfare partners around the nation. We have really tapped them for this. And so we really took a leap on this case, knowing that it was going to stretch all of our resources. And having been here with these animals for the past 5 months, I can say it's been worth it.
people were brought in, our staff as well as outside people, to do extensive testing of the animals and determine their temperament and how they reacted with people, how they reacted with other animals.
Going into this, we were told to expect to be able to save only 5 to 10% of the animals rescued from a dogfighting ring. And so we prepared ourselves going in with a plan that we were going to evaluate every single animal and make sure that every single animal had the opportunity for rehabilitation. As a result of that, instead of 5 to 10%, we found that 50 to 65% of these animals could be successfully rehabilitated. And then we reached out to rescue groups across the nation to help us get that animal that last step in the journey, eventually to be placed in a loving home, which is the best possible outcome for any abused animal.